Non-resistance is to say everything is ultimately good and it's all happening for my highest good and it's all part of the big game of life. Everyone is a golden link in the chain of my good. Everyone is a golden link in the chain of my good. Many, many, many blessings to you. Thank you for your wonderful presence and welcome to Your Wish Fulfilled. This is a magical podcast where we bring our future self, that highest version of you, that wonderful, inspired, creative, happy, wealthy, successful, healthy you, and we go into that experience so you can experience what it's like as if you're moving into a new reality, merging with your future self and feeling all those good feelings, because that is how we manifest the life we want. And more importantly, that's how we enjoy our life now, because if we don't enjoy our life now, we're going to create something disturbing. If we're disturbed now, we're going to create more disturbance. If we feel wonderful now, then we can smile, we can relax, we can enjoy. So welcome to the podcast. My name is Michael McIntosh. I've been on a spiritual adventure since I was 18, the last 25 years, where I was unexpectedly, when I was 18, I was pulled out of my body, had an unexpected spiritual awakening, pulled out of my body and shown a vision of my future. I saw two paths ahead of me. One path if I carried on the way I was, and a whole new path was shown to me of my future self, of being in the light, being in the joy. And I knew that's what I had to do. I took my first step on this new path and I was pulled back in my body and my entire life completely changed. It's never been the same since. And all these years later, here we are on this podcast. And if you don't know already, by the way, I have a spiritual life coach training. If you're interested in being a spiritual life coach, author, creator, doing what you love, getting paid. I also have a spiritual training where you can learn all sorts of fascinating spiritual secrets, and you can learn about that in the description of the podcast. So today we're talking about the law of non-resistance. And we are in a series about the game of life and how to play it by Florence Scovel. And this is a classic law of attraction manifestation book from the 1930s and 40s. And we are diving into the law of non-resistance, chapter 4. Resist not evil, be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good. Overcome negativity with positivity. And as we dive into this, just tune into it, because we all want to feel good, right? I'm sure you want to feel happy, you want to feel inspired, you want to enjoy your life. But it's the negativity, it's the negative thoughts, it's all these things that get in the way of that. So how do we deal with those things? This is really important, and we're going to learn about that today. Nothing on earth can resist an absolutely non-resistant person. The Chinese say that water is the most powerful element because it is perfectly non-resistant. It can wear away a rock and sweep all before it. Christ said, "Resist not evil," for he knew in reality there is no evil, therefore nothing to resist. Evil has come from the vain imagination or a belief in two powers, good and evil. There is an old legend that Adam and Eve ate of the Maya, of the tree of illusion, and saw two powers instead of one power, the source. Therefore, evil, negativity, is a false law man has made for himself through psychoma or soul sleep. Soul sleep means that the soul has been hypnotized by the ideas of negativity and death, sickness, which is carnal or mortal thought, and his affairs have outpictured his illusions. This is very, very deep, right? What we're diving into today is duality. And just like darkness doesn't really exist, it's just the absence of light. Negativity is the absence of our original state of being. We are originally spiritual beings filled with good feelings. When those good feelings start to dwindle within us, then we seek comfort in temporary things which end up causing us problems. So there's nothing really there, but it is our labeling, it's our beliefs, it's our way of looking at these things. We give them names, we give them life. We breathe life into negativity. We make it into this big deal, and it's actually just a paper tiger. Soul sleep means that we've been hypnotized. We read in a preceding chapter, the last session, you can go back and listen to that, that the soul is the subconscious mind. Now, I don't actually agree with that. I'm reading from the book here. The soul is the self. The soul is consciousness. But within us, we have the subconscious mind. And whatever you feel deeply, good or bad, is outpictured by your faithful servant, the subconscious. So whatever you're feeling and imagining deeply, again and again and again, will become outpictured in your life. I remember watching a documentary a while ago by this guy who was investigating all of the evil things in the world, right? And he was worried about this and worried about this and worried about that and worried about all these things, right? And he spent his whole life researching negative things. There's a lot of people like this around, and watching the news and checking stuff out on conspiracy theories and just completely getting caught up in it all, making things up and trying to connect the dots. And he got more and more and more and more miserable and more miserable, and his life fell apart. He lost all his money, and he ended up killing himself. He committed suicide because he was so miserable. And why was he so miserable? Because he had spent his life focused on negative things, and it just ate him up from the inside till he had no choice but to take his own life. Right? So we really need to be very, very careful about what we focus on, because it starts to eat us up from the inside. So whatever you put in your subconscious mind will be outpictured in your physical life. Your body and affairs show forth what has been picturing. The sick man has pictured sickness, the poor man poverty, the rich man wealth. People often say, why does a little child attract illness when it's too young to even know what it means? I answer that children are sensitive and receptive to the thoughts of others about them, and often outpicture the fears of their parents. If you don't run your subconscious mind by yourself, someone else will run it for you. Mothers often unconsciously attract illness and disaster to their children by continually holding them in thoughts of fear and watching for the symptoms. For example, a friend asked a woman if her little girl had the measles. She replied promptly, "Not yet." This implied that she was expecting the illness and therefore preparing the way for what she did not want to happen for herself and child. However, someone who is centered in establishing right thinking, that one sends out only goodwill to others and themselves, and who is without fear, that one cannot be touched or influenced by negative thoughts of others. So if you're sending out good vibrations, you're protected from receiving negative energy around you. Because otherwise we pick it all up. And we're very sensitive beings, human beings. If you watch the news, if you listen to some negative thing from somebody, if you just wander around. We're picking things up all the time. If you could receive only good thoughts, then you'd be all right. However, when we try and stop things, when we try and avoid negativity, when we focus on negativity, when we give it energy, when we worry about things going wrong, then it persists. A metaphysician once gave me a wonderful recipe for taking every trick in the game of life. It is the acme of non-resistance. He gave it in this way. At one time in my life, I baptized children, and of course they had many names. Now I no longer baptize children, but I baptize events. I give every event the same name. If I have a failure, I baptize its success in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. In this, we see the great law of transmutation founded on non-resistance. Through his spoken word, every failure was transmuted into success. For example, a woman who required money and who knew the spiritual law of opulence was thrown in a business way continually with a man who made her feel very poor. He talked lack and limitation, and she commenced to catch his poverty thoughts. She took it into her being. She so disliked him and blamed him for her failure. She knew in order to demonstrate her supply, she must first feel that she had received. A feeling of opulence must precede its manifestation. It dawned upon her one day that she was resisting the situation and seeing two powers instead of one. So she blessed the man and baptized the situation success, she affirmed. And there is only one power, the source of all goodness. This man is here for my good and my prosperity, just what he did not seem to be there for. Soon after she met, through this man, another woman who gave her for a service rendered several $100,000. And the man moved to a distant city and faded harmoniously from her life. Make the statement, everyone is a golden link to the chain of my good. You might want to think this or say this out loud. Everyone is a golden link in the chain of my good. Everyone is a golden link in the chain of my good. Isn't that beautiful? Doesn't that just feel good? Because what this is really about, this non-resistance, is instead of saying, oh, that shouldn't happen, I don't like this, why is it going on, there's all these terrible things happening, that's increasing what we don't want. Instead, non-resistance is about saying everything is good. It's all part of this one big thing. It's happening for me. It's beneficial for me, right? You feel the difference? The resistance is to say there's good and there's bad, and then we focus on the bad and we make it bigger and bigger and bigger, and we worry about things and we increase them and then we create them. Non-resistance is to say everything is ultimately good and it's all happening for my highest good, and it's all part of the big game of life. Bless your enemy and you rob him of his ammunition. The arrows will be transmuted into blessings. This is a law for nations as well as individuals. Bless a nation, send love and goodwill to every inhabitant, and it is robbed of its power to harm. Man can only get the right idea of non-resistance through spiritual understanding. My students have often said, I don't want to be a doormat. I reply, when you really use non-resistance with wisdom, no one will ever be able to walk over you. Another example, one day I was impatiently awaiting an important telephone call. I resisted every call that came in and made no point of going out and making calls myself, reasoning that it might interfere with the one I was awaiting. Instead of saying divine ideas never conflict, the call will come at the right time, leaving it to the infinite intelligence to arrange, I commenced to manage things myself. I made the battle mine, not the source, not God, and remained tense and anxious. The bell did not ring for about an hour, and I glanced at the phone and found the receiver had been off that length of time, and the phone was disconnected. My anxiety, fear, and the belief of interference had brought a total eclipse to the telephone. Realizing what I'd done, I commenced in blessing the situation at once. I baptized it success, 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 and affirmed, I cannot lose any call that belongs to me by divine right. I am under grace and not under law. A friend rushed out to the nearest telephone to notify the company to reconnect. She entered a crowded grocery, but the proprietor left his customers unattended to call himself. My phone was connected at once, and 2 minutes later I received that very important call, and about an hour afterwards the one I had been awaiting. One's ships come over a calm sea. Your ship comes in over a calm sea. So long as you resist a situation, you will have it with you. If you run away from it, it will run after you. For example, I repeated this to a woman one day, and she replied, "How true it is. I was unhappy at home. I disliked my mother, who was critical and domineering, so I ran away and was married. But I married my mother, for my husband was exactly like my mother, and I had to face the same situation again." This means agree that the adverse situation is good and be undisturbed by it, and it falls away of its own weight. None of these things move me. None of these things move me is a wonderful affirmation. The inharmonious situation comes from some inharmony with you yourself. When there is in us no emotional response to an inharmonious situation, it fades away forever from your pathway. So see your work as ever within yourself. People have said to me, "Give treatments to change my husband or my brother," and I reply, no. No. I will give treatments to change you. When you change, then your husband and your brother will change. Isn't that fascinating? We think, oh, wouldn't it be great if someone else changes? Wouldn't it be great if something else happened? No. When we clear out the energy within ourselves, this is the hard work. Let's be honest, this isn't easy. It's a lot easier to try and get everyone else to change. It doesn't actually work, but it seems easier. Oh, I'll just try and force these people to change and hope the world changes. But it's not going to work, is it? Because we're still stuck with the energy. And what we really want is that shift in consciousness. So let's just pause here and tune into this. When challenging situations come, what are we going to do about it? Because they are going to come. It's going to happen. Look at the state of the world, right? It's a wonderful and remarkable and strange and wondrous place. So things are going to come to us in one way or another. But we can see it as for our good. We can see it as part of this whole thing. We can either say, oh, this shouldn't happen, this is awful, I don't like it. Or we can say, this is supporting me. Everything that happens is connected to the chain of my good. Isn't that a wonderful statement? Everything that happens is connected to my highest good. One morning I picked up a book and read, "Look with wonder at that which is before you." Look with wonder at that which is before you. It seemed to be a message for the day, so I repeated again and again, "Look with wonder at that which is before you." At about noon, a large sum of money was given to me, which I had been desiring for a certain purpose. Isn't that fascinating, right? We need to really see life, be alive. One of the secret practices is to pull your future self, your higher self, pull it from the future back. If you imagine yourself totally successful, blissful, you've attained everything, wealthy in the future, right? You go into that future self. And then from there, you imagine bringing your future self back here to your present self, knowing that success is guaranteed. And then notice the wonder of life. Notice how you react and respond differently. This is amazing, right? Your current self is creating your future self, and your future self is actually pulling you forward and affecting your present. We're actually affected by our past and our present and our future. Our future is actually making an impact on our moment-to-moment life now. Whatever your future self is, that vision you hold is pulling you, it's affecting you, it's inspiring you. So we can either live in the past and we can live in this paradigm that there's all these terrible things and everything's awful and there's this whole thing called evil, or we can say everything is connected. There's my future self, success is 100% guaranteed. And enjoy. Enjoy. So let's finish with a little visualization. There's all goodness surrounding you. Think of something you'd love to manifest in your life. Imagine your future self exists, which it does. Your future self is already successful right now. There's some part of you that has already attained everything. And just notice the good feelings that come with that. Baptizing, blessing everything. This is all working out. Everything's connected to the chain of your good. It's all happening to help and support you in various ways. Success is yours. And congratulations. You can go deeper into these meditations. And by the way, I have a meditation that hundreds of thousands of people listen to. It's called the Advanced Law of Attraction Meditation. You can get it free on Insight Timer. If you go to my Insight Timer account, the link's in the description, or just put my name in. It's an app, Insight Timer. And Advanced Law of Attraction Meditation for Abundance. And you go into this much more deeply. If you do that for 40 days, so many people have done that and they've had amazing experiences. So you might want to check that out. And going forth into your life, into your day, into your week, just think about this. When things come up, tune into it. No need to resist, because what resists persists. If we try and force it not to happen and we go on to negativity and we talk about negativity, it just gets worse. So we flip it around and we say, this is good, it's happening for a reason, it's for my highest good, what can I learn from this? And then we bless it with all the goodness, we refocus on all the things that we want, we go into the feeling of having attained everything, and it all works out from there. So thank you for your wonderful, wonderful presence. I'm very grateful for you. I hope you're doing great. And I look forward to connecting with you in the next session, which is all about the law of karma and the law of forgiveness. It's very, very deep. Lots of love. Talk to you soon.